Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back after a short break. So this is the last video clip, video part 9 out of 9 on chapter 12, selecting a sample. So in this specific lesson, we're going to learn about a mixed sampling design. Fortunately, there is only one type of mixed sampling design. It is called systematic sampling design. Let's go to some characteristics of systematic sampling design. So it has characteristics of both random and non-random sampling designs. That is why it is classified under mixed design. In order to use systematic sampling design, a researcher must produce an updated or an complete sampling frame, starting from the first person to the last in the sampling frame, the first to the last in the list. So let's go to some steps in order to implement a systematic sampling design. Step number 1 is to prepare a list of all sampling units or sampling elements called the population. We have to have a list of the population. And step number 2 is to determine our sample size. Yes, we researchers have to determine the size of our sample before conducting a research study. And step number 3 is to compute the width of the interval. It's symbolized by the lowercase letter k. So in order to compute the interval, the width of the interval, the formula is very simple. The formula is very simple. K equals n divided by n, or the population, the size of the population divided by the sample size that we wish to take in our study. And then we are going to randomly select the first element, one element from the first interval or the first k. How do we do that? Yes, we can use simple random sampling methods. As you remember, there are 3 simple random sampling methods: the fishbowl method, computer program method, and a table of random numbers method. And after that, after randomly selecting the first element in the first interval, we can select the ith element from the subsequent intervals. These are the steps, and they are quite conceptual. Let's go to the real practice on the next slide. Here I constructed a sampling frame. This is what we call the population. You can see in total there are 55 research subjects or participants. This is the population from 1 to 55. And let's say you want to randomly select 11 people for in-depth interview. You want to interview 11 people. And you want also to use systematic sampling. So in order to do that, you need to compute the interval, so represented by the English letter, the lowercase k. K equals the size of the population divided by the sample size. So in this instance, 55 divided by 11 equal 5. This is the k, or the width of the interval. So you can see this is the the first interval. So you can go to here, 1 to 5. This is the first interval. Participants 6 to 10, second interval. 11 to 15, the third interval. 16 to 20, fourth interval. 21 to 25, fifth interval. 26, 30, sixth interval. 31 to 35, seventh interval. 8th, 9, 10. In total, there are 11 intervals. So, what is the next step? The next step is to select one participant or one element from the first interval. So there are 5 participants in this interval. Participant number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. How do we do that? Very simple. You can write down number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on pieces of paper, scroll them up, put them in a box, shake them very, very well, and select one. Let's say you randomly select number 2. So number 2 become the first respondent or participant in your study. 2 now is added with 5 because the skip interval is 5. So number 7 gonna be the second respondent. 7 plus 5 gonna be 12. Participant number 12 is selected. 12 plus 5. Participant 17 gonna be selected. 17 plus 5, 22 gonna be selected. 22 plus 5, 27 gonna be selected. 27 plus 5, 32 gonna be selected. 32 plus 5, 37 selected. 37 plus 5, 42 selected. 47 selected. 47 plus 5, 52 selected. And at the end, you get the sample size of 11 people. So that's how we implement systematic sampling in research. I hope you enjoy the process. So it's easy to do. I want to explain the concept of systematic sampling a little bit at the beginning of this lesson. There is a concept stating a concept that systematic sampling has a characteristic of both random and non-random design. You can see it is partly random. It is partially random. Why? Because in the first interval, we select one sampling element randomly. It's random. However, after that, the process is not random. In other words, if we select number 2, and then the skip interval is 5, 2 plus 5, 7. The next participant to be selected is number 7. So you can see number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6 do not have an equal chance of being selected. Therefore, it's partially random and partially non-random. That's what we mean. So next page, next slide, the calculation of sample size. In principle, I think it's good to follow this broad principle. If you want to conduct a survey, in principle, in general, theoretically, you need a minimum of 100 participants. If you conduct a correlational research study, you need a minimum of 50 participants. If you conduct an experimental research, you need 30 subjects or participant or respondent per group. If you conduct a qualitative research, your sample size can vary from 1 participant to 20 participants. And I feel that this principle is important. It gives us some kinds of direction or decision making mechanism when it comes to our decision regarding the sample size for our study. And I would like to credit all of this to Frankel et al. 2012. You can refer to his book further. Let's go to another important lesson here, sampling in qualitative research. As stated earlier, the main purpose of qualitative inquiries is to explore diversity, diverse opinions, diverse feedbacks, diverse experiences, or things like that. So the idea is to explore diversity. So sample size and sampling strategy do not play a huge role. However, sample size and sampling strategy, in particular non-random sampling design, is so important in quantitative studies. I want to quote from Kumar, 2014, page 247, because this is illuminating piece of quote. If selected carefully, diversity can be extensively and accurately described on the basis of information obtained even from one individual. For qualitative researchers, you have some reason to be happy about. Diversity can be described, extensively on the basis of just one individual. Let's go to the last slide here. Some concepts of saturation point in qualitative research. In fact, we already talked about this, but it's quite helpful for us to revisit these issues. Data is usually collected to a point where you are not getting new information or it is negligible, okay, called the data saturation point. So the concept of saturation point means we keep collecting data until we are not learning new information, or new information is so small, it's so little, we decide to stop collecting qualitative data. So the concept of when to stop collecting data, or when or where we have reached the data saturation point, can be highly subjective. For me, it's different. For others, it's different. For you, it's different. So therefore, it is us who are collecting data. So we must decide when to stop. So we know that after having talked to 5, 10, 12 people, we get some clues about data saturation. So a caution also, a final note, if the topic or issues is so diverse, we need to talk to more people to reach that stage. So congratulations, you already see this, congratulations notice. Okay, that's fine, that's cool. Congratulations, everyone. You have made it to the end of this important chapter on sampling. I hope you learn a lot. You get a lot out of this, 9 videos series on selecting a sample. Your, conceptual understanding of this chapter gonna make you stand out, among other researchers. So, bye bye. Thank you.